Welcome back. Joining me now via Zoom, I'm talking with Detective Sergeant John Armit of the OPP, and we're going to be talking about scams and fraud. We want to educate the public as to what's happening out there because it seems to be somewhat rampant at this point in time, and we don't want you to become a victim. So let's talk with John. John, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, is there a rise with respect to scams and fraud in Eastern Ontario?
Absolutely. Not just Eastern Ontario, throughout the province of Ontario and Canada. Last year, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre received over $580 million in reported losses from the public and law enforcement.
Whoa, that's a lot. Why? Why is this happening? Is it is it technology?
It's technology, but I'll just back up a sec. So
Okay.
in 2021, our reported losses were 164 million reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. So you can see a massive jump.
Oh, yeah.
Our largest fraud losses reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre and to the OPP has to do with crypto investment frauds. So when you talk about technology, cryptocurrency is here to stay. It can be used for good, but like any other currency, the fraudsters are jumping onto it.
Yeah.
So with everyone staying at home during the pandemic, a lot of people got used to working online, seeing information online, and the scammers saw this and embraced it. So whether it be spoofing phone calls or using VPNs to hide their location, to using software to alter their voice or their images, it's prevalent in the use of technology. We call it cyber-enabled fraud.
Okay. It's not all just technology and receiving an email that is definitely a scam, but people are actually going door to door to tell the homeowner that there's a lien on their home. To me, this is a new one, is it not?
It's been here for years. Actually, our OPP Serious Fraud Office just laid charges in Project Nettle, which had to do with companies that had individuals going door to door and encouraging mostly seniors to sign up for home appliances, air conditioners, water tanks, air exchanges. And so what they would do is they get people to sign these contracts for overinflated prices, and then they would have someone come back the next few days and say, hey, look, that wasn't a good idea. That's part of a fraud. There's a lawsuit. If you sign these records, we can get you in part of the lawsuit and you'll get some money back. And then they're essentially signing over their residence, their properties for a mortgage. The great news is in 2024 in June, the government of Ontario passed joint legislation with all the political parties to remove the nosies, which were essentially the liens on your house. So they've eradicated that portion. So that's just one of the types. The other one that was really pervasive, and our team in Ottawa, I assisted them in something called Project Sharp, and that was the emergency grandparent scam. And that has to do with your grandchildren apparently calling you that they're in danger and had been arrested. So so that was use of just a simple phone call. They would type in your number a postal code in Canada 411. And they're able to identify your phone number, your name, and your address with the legacy phone system. So based on landlines. So that's how they were able to target their victims. So technology isn't always part of it.
Yes. Okay. But it is sad. It is sad. And from what I'm hearing, is it predominantly seniors that are being targeted?
No, it's anyone and everyone that's happening. We do have certain scams that we see targeting seniors, and we know that seniors lose on average 33% more than the rest of the population. And that's typically because they're hit with a second or third scam. And a lot of people that have cognitive decline, dementia or what have you, they're looped into these frauds, and it's really devastating. It's heartbreaking to see what's happened.
So are you indicating it's not just with seniors, though? If someone has been targeted and the scammer was successful, is there a possibility he will go back and target that victim again, even though it's not necessarily a senior, though, right?
Right. It's called a
Okay.
sucker list. And
Oh,
once you've sent the money, they have you on their list and they share it readily. When we speak about different age demographics and what have you, job scams are hitting younger generation.
oh,
Investment scams are hitting every sort of generation. Romance scams tend to hit more of the seniors looking for love. Maybe they've lost a family
yes.
member, their partner, and they're looking to get back out there. So they're hitting all aspects of society.
Isn't that, it's just amazing. It just boggles my mind. What is a deep fake technology? What is that? I came across that
That's right.
term.
So it's perfect that you're talking about this because the use of artificial intelligence is going to become prevalent in these frauds. They already are.
Yes.
Deep fakes is where you could take an image or a video of somebody and alter that image.
Okay.
For instance, we're seeing a lot of the crypto investment scams where they're purporting to be Elon Musk,
Oh,
and they're when you have a certain amount of footage of somebody talking, the software can use that to generate that fake person carrying on the conversation. So that's how it operates. The other thing we're seeing is the use of software like Chat GTP that allows people to put in information and it builds a script. So when we're looking at people that may not be for Canada, maybe West African gangs or people that don't have language proficiency with English, they're able to use these scripts, send the email, and you won't pick up any grammar mistakes and what have you. That would normally be a red flag in the past.
shoot. Yes, it would have been right away. The spelling of a word, it just jump out. So we
That's
can't
right.
use that well, we can still use it, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that oh, wow. Okay. What about the scam with Microsoft? Is that still going around?
It really is. I encourage your viewers to check out YouTube and type in "payback scammer." And this individual is a ethical scammer, and he basically hacker. He goes in and he tries to reverse engineer these call centers. And these service scams are operating out of India predominantly.
Yes, yes.
What they're doing is, here's the big red flag for your viewers is if they get unsolicited emails, unsolicited text messages, or unsolicited pop-ups on their computer, that should be a red flag.
Okay.
And what these scams do is there's a blue screen that comes up and it says call Microsoft or call McAfee, and here's the phone number. And it's a 1-800 number. And it's putting you right in touch with the call centers in India. And these people are great, and they're going to convince you that there's a problem with your system. You really need to eradicate it and act right now. Your Microsoft protection plan is expired. You need to buy a new one. And so they'll get the victims to download software like AnyDesk that allows remote entry. So they're essentially getting you to sign into your bank accounts. They transfer money from your line of credit without you knowing into your bank account and say, oh, there's an overpayment. Now I'm going to lose my job if you don't pay me. Take the money out, put it into cryptocurrency,
Yes.
send it away, and then the money's gone.
Wow. Wow. So, to protect, what do people do? What does the public do to protect themselves? You were saying anything that comes across the screen that grabs your attention, be very cautious of that. But what else can they do?
So they play on your emotions and they play on the sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could really pause, take a sober second thought, maybe talk to a friend about what's just happened. You can also go online and whatever the phone number is, maybe they're sending you or contacting you from, you can put it in a Google search and type in that phone number or whatever it is they're sending you and add the plus symbol and fraud. You'll be amazed what comes out of chat groups and people warning, or it could be a warning from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center or the media. So it's really important to take that pause, really reflect at what's coming at you, maybe talk to some friends, maybe visit the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center website and really do your due diligence. I always say people should become their own online detective because I've done that before where victims have reported a fraud. I just put that in a search engine and I see what the fraud type is. So that's the first part.
Okay.
The second part is if anyone's asking you to send cryptocurrency, that should be a red flag.
Mm-hmm. All right.
If it's unsolicited people that they're asking for an e-transfer, that's another red flag. And our friends in Brockville, you have beautiful area along the water. There's a lot of rental properties that people are putting online. Be cognizant who's coming and asking to rent your property. Or if you're doing the same thing, go visit the property before you rent the property. But they'll do that for online marketplace or Kijiji. So really, just pause and have a look. And the next thing is, if you do become a victim, notify your financial institution, collect all that information, contact your local police of jurisdiction, and also report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center online. We have a really good website, antifraudcenter.ca. It has A to Z fraud types, and you can really start to learn about what fraud is out there.
Okay. So, question about the anti-fraud. Does the local police service or the OPP, do they automatically send information to the anti-fraud center? The anti-fraud, I'll get it in a minute. Center. Is it, do they share?
I'll just unpack that just for a second. So
Okay.
most of your viewers may not know that the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center was started by the OPP. It was called Phone Busters. And it's
okay.
yeah.
All right.
I don't know if you remember those stickers we used to see on our phones. So it was so successful that the RCMP, who are already in partnership with the Competition Bureau, decided to build a team. And so that's what's the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. And so we encourage our police services to send the reports to us. Some members do know to do that, some don't.
Okay.
You have to remember, these police officers are dealing with a myriad of calls, from a traffic collision to a domestic to a homicide into a cybercrime.
Yes.
So sometimes they may not be aware of the services we have.
Mm-hmm.
But the greatest thing is that there's an online portal for the victims or the public to report, even if you haven't lost any money. So the reports that get shared to us, we have something called a disruption program. So by having the public and having police share the reports, a bad bank account, a bad phone number, a bad website, any information that we can take and send off to these private companies. Now, we ensure we're following privacy compliance. Mm-hmm. So we may send TD Bank, for instance, a bad bank account and say, hey, look, this came in as a fraud report. Perhaps you guys can look inside your systems and see if this is a client that you may want to deplatform.
Yes.
And so we want to take the tools away from the fraudsters. So that's why it's really important to report to us.
Okay. What about, what do you say to the person that's totally embarrassed that they have been caught? They've been caught in a scam. What do you say to people like that?
Well, it's really important that people really understand that this is hitting everyone in society. How many times a day do you get telemarketers or fake telemarketers on the duct cleaning scams? Mm-hmm. Or you get a text message say, hey, I lost my phone, or what's up? They're doing that to try and hook you. That's why it's called phishing, phishing attack. So by reporting that to the police and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, you're actually helping out other victims. And, we see often with a lot of seniors, romance frauds. I worked with the Leeds and Grenville OPP, and we arrested a Nigerian national from the Toronto area that had been part of an elaborate romance scam. Wow. And this poor retired nurse lost $150,000 of her life savings. Aww. So by her coming forward to the police, we were actually able to have an undercover investigation. We arrested this individual, and we identified he had connections back to Lagos, Nigeria. So when we talk about these frauds, it's globalized. It's, people have intermediaries in different countries, but the syndicated crime organizations are all around the world, and they're targeting every Canadian you can think of.
Poor Canadians. What about businesses? What do businesses incur, and what can they do?
Well, I think the biggest threat to businesses right now is something called spear phishing or business email compromise. And that's where we're seeing these businesses receive emails. Maybe it's their accounts department. We're seeing schools, hospitals, government agencies being told that the vendor wants to change their banking address. Oh. And then they come back in afterwards and say, we have an invoice of $150,000. Can you pay that invoice? And now that goes to the bad actor's account. Often they're asking for a wire transfer because that's how large transactions occur. Mm-hmm. So that's a really big issue. The other one is spoofing of websites for organizations. We're seeing financial institutions be spoofed. So businesses are being hit similar to the rest of the population with these different scams.
So it's just right across the board. It's anyone and everyone. So
that's right.
Sad.
We've even had the Anti-Fraud Center's logo and our phone number and our website be spoofed. The commissioner of the RCMP as well. So, you really have to question who's contacting you and their legitimacy.
Taxis, Uber, and parking fees. Is there a problem there?
Well, we're seeing most of those taxi scams occur in the bigger centers. For instance, Toronto, or particularly Toronto. Some of that is in other areas, but we don't tend to see it in small towns policed by the OP or small municipal services. But it is an issue. And what was the other aspect you were asking about? So taxi scams?
Yeah, the parking fees. Was there anything with
so
parking
what we
fees?
are seeing is we're starting to see where you have one of these parking meters that you can put your credit card into.
Yes.
We're seeing scammers put their own QR code on there.
Oh.
And so you scan the QR code, which opens up a web page, which is controlled by the scammers,
Right.
and you're putting your credit card information. So now they're harvesting your credit card, and they get your money, right? So that's an issue. We're seeing in some areas along the 401, because Brockville sits beside the 401, and the en route centers where we're having individuals from European countries that are coming around, and they're saying, "Hey, look, my car broke down. I need some money. I have a gold watch. Can you pay me some cash in exchange for the gold watch? I guarantee it's a beautiful gold watch. It's a Rolex or whatever." And people think that they're getting this beautiful timepiece, and then only to find out afterwards when they go to the jeweler, it's just fake gold.
Oh, thank you ever so much, John. It really has helped. It's opened our eyes up that, this is here. So let's deal with it. Let's deal with it and be a little bit more clever than what those scammers are. Thank you ever so much.
Thanks for having me.
And that's it for this week's episode of FYI. Till next time, I'm Doreen.